Okay, hello, I'm David Litchfield, and I'm an illustrator. And on the 1st of July 2010 until the 30th of June 2011, I drew one drawing every day for a year, posted them online for the world to see and critique. And the reason I did this is because I didn't always know I was an illustrator. I didn't really know what I was. It took me a long time to work out that I was an illustrator. And really that's what this talk is about, I guess. It's not about drawing, although here are some of the drawings. It's about time. And it's about the notion that you need to make up time, or one of the worst feelings of all, that you could even be running out of time, which sounds quite severe, I guess. But I don't know if it's a UK thing, or a Bedford thing, or even just a David Litchfield thing, but there seems to be a notion, at least, of a cut-off point in life. Whereas that if you haven't found out what it is you want to be doing, or who you are by a certain age, then it's too late, and you're too old to kind of try and, how do you define yourself from a certain age? Which is nonsense, obviously. But nonetheless, it was a notion that was with me, and I really started to panic because I was approaching this age. And I really hadn't figured out what it was I wanted to do. I'd been to school, obviously. I'd even been to art school. I'd had a few kind of stop-start careers. And I really wasn't very good at any of them. And yeah, as I said, I really started to panic that I wouldn't find out what it is I wanted to do for the next, I don't know, 75 years or whatever I have got left. Now I obviously came, but then the important thing to say is that I'd always drawn, every day, for as long as I can remember. And it's always been the thing that I love doing the most. And that's probably one of the reasons why I thought I would never get a job in it, because it was just too enjoyable to call it a job. And just looking at my parents, a career wasn't something that you enjoyed, it was something that you survived. But then it did suddenly hit me, that maybe I could be an illustrator. And when I said that, when I said I'm an illustrator, it just seemed to fit much more than any of the other careers that I'd had. So I set myself this challenge. I would draw a drawing a day, every day for a year. I woke up an hour early and just drew while I was still waking up, which incidentally is a great way of drawing. Because you have no kind of creative inhibitions while you're still dreaming and so forth. And all kinds of weird stuff comes out on page. But no, I drew. And as soon as I finished, I put them on Facebook. I linked them to Twitter and Tumblr and just waited for feedback and invited people to critique them and give me advice. Because that was one of the reasons I did it. Again, going back to this time. I wanted to speed up time. I wanted to speed up the creative process, the creative development that you have to go through as an illustrator. I needed to make up that time. So some of the drawings were very simple, line drawings. Sometimes when I had a bit more time, maybe on a weekend or a bank holiday, they were a little bit more detailed. Sometimes I got good feedback, sometimes I got very bad feedback. Sometimes I'd spend, a good amount of time and really focus on a drawing and think this is one of the greatest drawings I've ever done. Put it online and there'd just be nothing. Other times I'd spend, I don't know, a couple of minutes because I was in a rush on one of the drawings, put that online, and it would just be some kind of crappy drawing of a cat or a dog or something. And people would go wild for it. So it was kind of quite a really good learning curve in that respect as to what people appreciated and what they didn't. Now, it's important to say that drawing a day is not new. Stephen Cran has been drawing a one-page comic every day since 2010 and still continues to do so. There's a guy in the States called Hey Beast who draws an animal every day and, for a year. And the resulting 365 different animals are going to be turned into a children's book when the project ends this month, in fact. But about 2 weeks into my project, I suddenly realized that a few more people were following, a few more people were paying attention, and it wasn't just my mum or my brother or a few of my friends. It was actually people from the creative industries People who worked at publishing companies or magazines started commenting on the drawings and sort of sharing them around and so forth, which was something I completely didn't expect. I was doing it as a kind of self-motivated, self-learning project, but people started to take an interest in it, and it started to create a real buzz. And as I say, about 2 weeks in, I realized I'd actually created myself a real platform to sort of show off what I could do. And that's exactly what I did. I upped my game, so to speak, when I realized that people were actually looking at what I was doing and actually commenting that they were looking forward to each drawing every day. It was a new kind of pressure, but a really good pressure. People asked me during the project, oh, thank you, how do you find the time to do this? And they still ask me that today. How do you find the time to do what you love? I'd love to find the time to do what I love, they'd say. And these are usually the same people that tell me that they've just watched a box set of Lost of an evening, or they're, I don't know, they've watched some videos of cats playing pianos on YouTube for 5 hours a night. You find time. If you're passionate about something and if you've got a goal, then you find time. In many cases, you have to almost kind of create time. Okay, so I did the project. So when the year came to an end, and I now had 365 individual illustrations, a body of work that I didn't have before, I decided to put on an exhibition, of my first Drawing a Day exhibition, and we took over one of the empty shops in the Castle Quay district of this lovely town, Bedford. And it was fantastic. We had a week to get in, a week's lease where we had to get in, clean up, hang and frame 365 individual illustrations. So again, it was another race against time. But the build-up to that exhibition was one of my most exciting weeks of my life, and it kind of turned into a mini community project in itself, in that the good people of Bedford really came through to me and donated the majority of the frames that we used. But people donated them. They had old frames in their lofts or in their sheds that they put towards the project. They also donated their time. They would come and help me on their lunch breaks to frame this monumental task of getting all these pictures up. And the actual event itself was a fantastic event. I'm really proud of that exhibition, that first exhibition, and I'm proud that I did it in my hometown because it's kind of travelled around a little bit. And in fact, the opening night was one of my 4 greatest nights of my life, other than my wedding and the birth of my son and another night. But no, it was a fantastic... We'll go into that, that's another talk. Well, it was a fantastic achievement, not just for me, but for the people that helped me. So yeah, I've gone off track a little bit. Now, it says in my TED blurb that I did a Drawing a Day, and it changed my life. And that's sort of true. Many things are still very much the same. I still draw every day. But now, luckily, it's sometimes for a client. And sometimes I get paid for it as well, where I didn't obviously for this. Another thing that's the same is I'm still very much trying to find the time to do illustration, trying to fit it around jobs and family life, etc. But the one thing that is different, the one thing that did change after Drawing a Day is that I now have a focus. And I now know exactly what it is I want to put all my energies into, my creative energies into. I don't know if you're aware of, I'm sure some of you are aware, you're a very educated and arty lot, but there's the 10,000 hour rule, which if you want to call yourself an expert on something, you need to do 10,000 hours, or amass 10,000 hours experience to then call yourself an expert in a subject. Now, I don't think I'm an expert illustrator, by any stretch of the imagination. And on Drawing 1, July the 1st, 2010, Drawing a Day #1, I would very much not have called myself an illustrator. But by drawing 365, after the year had finished, after all the developing, all of the learning, all of the drawings, I would very confidently introduce myself. And I'm David Litchfield, and I'm an illustrator. Thank you very much.